everyone, it's Moxie and welcome back to my channel. In this week's video, I'm going to be showing you how I decorated my graduation cap for college and how you can DIY one for yourself as well. They're a lot easier to do than they look, and it's really just adding layers of craft elements onto the top of your cap. A few of my friends have already decorated their graduation caps, and I actually know a few other people who are paying to have someone else decorate their caps. Depending on how you do this or who you go to, this can get very expensive, so I'm going to show you how you can DIY your graduation cap and make it look just as good as anyone who's going to pay hundreds of dollars to have it done. There's a couple different ways that you can choose to decorate your cap. You can use a stencil and paint like I did and paint directly onto the top of your cap, or if you want to stay away from paint completely, you can use scrapbook letters and numbers and just stick them directly onto your cap. Originally, I wanted to paint directly onto my cap. However, it wasn't turning out the way that I thought it would, and the paint was kind of getting absorbed by the fabric of the cap, so if you choose to use this method, I definitely recommend using chalk paint. It tends to go on a lot thicker, and you won't have any streaking. I wasn't happy with how this was coming out. The fabric was absorbing any paint markers that I used. Even using a Sharpie, it was absorbing the ink to the point where cleaning up the lines of my paint just wasn't happening. So I ended up moving on and reworking my plan. I wasn't quite sure what would work, so I ended up going to Michael's and picking up 3 pieces of scrapbook inserts. My best friend actually did her graduation cap with paper, and so I ended up working with the paper one first to see if it would work. I'm so happy with how this method worked out, so if you go the paper route, the first thing you'll need to do is cut a hole for your tassel. Don't worry about doing this neatly, you can hide any of those messed up edges underneath the tassel button. After you're happy with that, you can flip over your cap and start folding and cutting off the excess paper. You can fold it under and leave it, or you can cut it off like I did. It really doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that your edges are nice and clean and that your lines are straight. Once the excess paper is removed, you can attach the paper to the cap. I used a planning tape pen to help me affix the paper to the cap. I know my best friend used Velcro strips so that she could remove her design off of her cap if she wanted to. Since I already kind of messed up my cap, I didn't mind attaching the paper directly to the cap. After you've attached your paper, make sure you find the edge that is supposed to be the front of your cap. I actually know several people who design their cap upside down and they can't remove their design, so it kind of makes things difficult come graduation day. Using ribbon glue, I attached twine to my tassel button. I wanted to hide the original black fabric of the cap, and the twine really went well with the rustic burlap theme. If you also want to camouflage your tassel button, I would definitely use ribbon glue. It's sticky enough to hold whatever you're trying to glue down, but it's not too sticky that you can't touch it while it's still wet. Before everything sets, just make sure your tassel still fits underneath that button. You are going to need to turn your tassel when you graduate, so you definitely want to make sure it still has movement. And now you can finally start applying your design. I printed out a stencil and just traced my design onto my cap. As I mentioned before, if you want to stay away from paint or tracing or anything that might be a little bit too in-depth for you, you can definitely skip this step and use scrapbook stickers instead. I went with this method mostly because I couldn't find stickers in this type of font or a similar font that I liked, so I definitely wanted to keep it as original to the design as I could. After tracing and penciling in my design, I used Martha Stewart's craft paint in linen, and this is called vintage decor paint. It's basically chalk paint, and it comes in a variety of colors. Using a small detail brush, I just went in and lightly filled in my design. If you decide to paint your design, you are painting directly onto paper, so apply thin coats and let them dry in between so you don't go through your paper. Once your design is pretty much finished, go ahead and fill in any light spots or spots that may stand out in the sun. Once everything's dry, you can add ribbon or trim to the edges to hide that paper seam. I just used the ribbon glue from earlier and added this lace detail to the edges. I glued the top side and then folded the excess underneath my cap. This kind of gave it a more put together look and made it look like my cap came this way instead of me decorating it. Unfortunately, this is also when my camera died, but all I did was outline my design with a black Sharpie marker and then I added on extra details. I added these paper rosettes and paper doilies that I picked up from Michael's. I cut one doily and added a burlap bow to the bottom and arranged the paper rosettes to give it a little bit more detail. I'm so happy with how this design came out. I was actually a little worried when I originally started the design. Like most DIYs, there can be some trial and error. However, it usually all comes together and I'm so happy with how this ended up. As always, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Also, comment down below or follow me on Instagram and Twitter at HeatherMoxieDIY. Tweet or tag me in some pictures. I love seeing how your guys' designs come out. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and of course, I will see you guys next weekend in my next video. Bye!